Here I am. I thought it would be an interesting indulgence in nostalgia to don the old uniform again and to come out and visit where I fought at. Who am I? Oh, forgive me. My name is Edward Hector. I'm one of the many black soldiers that fight in the American Revolution. I'm with Proctor's 3rd Pennsylvania Artillery. I fought both in this battle and the Battle of Germantown as well. I am both a teamster and I am an artillerist, a bombardier to be more precise. I hauling ammunition in my wagon. I'm also helping to load and fire the cannons. We were located near the Brandywine on a hill that overlooked it, placed right next to Mr. Chad's house. Our spies had learned information that redcoats had landed at a place called the Head of Elk down in Maryland, and that they were marching up the old road. As they were coming up, it was decided that their objective is Philadelphia, our nation's capital. I'm sure they think, if they can capture Philadelphia, capture the Continental Congress, well, they can put an end to this little rebellion of ours. To prevent this from happening, General Washington was sent about 20 miles west of Philadelphia to the Brandywine River. He had a very simple plan. Every place that you could cross that river by well foot, he placed armies. Sound like a good plan? We thought so. It would have been a good plan. But it did have some problems. We understand that we need to stop them way before they do get to Philadelphia. So the night before, our unit is ordered to come to the Chad's Ford area to set up our cannons, get ready for the battle the next day. Now, I don't know if you realize how the weather here in Pennsylvania is, but sometimes when we have storms, it just seems like the very sky opens up and drops. I mean, it just comes down. It comes down, it comes down, it comes down. Tonight is one of those nights. I remember the roads were thick and mired with mud. We had a difficult time getting our horses, our wagons, especially our cannons through that muck. But we did. We arrived here at Mr. Chad's house that night, and we started digging ourselves in and getting prepared for the battle the next day. We worked all through the night. We went to bed without anything to eat. The next day is hot. It's up in the 90s. I remember as we got up, you could see that there was a slight fog that settled across the river that morning. We get up and we prepare ourselves for battle. And as we're doing so, we're spotted. We're spotted by the enemy that has now arrived. Now, we're a little bit surprised. Now, we are expecting to be attacked here. This is the central part of the line, and this is where we want to hold them at. But unfortunately, there were some problems with the plan that General Washington had. At least 2 problems. The first problem is, as the British were marching up on the old road, before it reached Chad's Ford, they came to a small town called Kent, and there they did something we did not expect. They split their forces into 2. Half of them was sent to the Chad's Ford area right here. They had the orders to amuse the Americans. In other words, they acted as if the entire British force was right out there. The second problem is that the other half was marching up behind the lines on the other side of the river. You see, they knew something that we did not. They knew that if you go up the Brandywine River about 5 or 6 miles after it forks, there are 2 other fords. There are 2 other places the river can be crossed. We had no idea that those two places exist. So they marched up, they marched over, and they marched behind our right side. A man came riding down from the north. He wanted to talk to General Washington. Sir, did you realize that there's a goodly number of redcoats behind your position up north? Oh, truly. His reaction to this man, he had him put into custody. That, I know, seems odd, but you got to realize that General Washington didn't know who this man was. Throughout the day, General Washington is receiving reports of troop movements behind the lines across the river. He sends out scouts. They come back with mixed reports. Yes, we see some evidence of troop movements. No, we don't see any evidence at all. Yes, we see. And finally, one of his own men come down to give the general report. He says, yes, sir. We have been outflanked on the right side. Looked like about half of the British forces there, cannons and all. Well, in an effort to try to protect himself, he draws down some of the forces he has up north on the river. He brings up reinforcements. He tries to protect the rear of his army. But by now, it is too little, and unfortunately, it is too late. Oh, that we would have had a handful of men. A handful of men at any one of those two crossing areas could have delayed the British long enough that we could have brought reinforcements. And maybe, just maybe, the outcome of this battle might have been quite different. But alas, that's not how it played out. Well, our fighting here, as I told you, they spotted our position. They opened fire upon us. And of course, being the gentlemen that we are, we returned fire in kind. You can hear the sound of fighting in that fog below. But that's not what's bothering us. You know what's bothering us? As the day goes on, not only do you hear the sound of fighting in front of you, but guess where you start to hear the sound of fighting coming from? Yes, that's right, behind us. Well, you think about it. If you have fighting in front of you, and you have fighting behind you, what's getting ready to happen to you? You're getting ready to be surrounded. Does an army ever want to be surrounded by the enemy? Of course not. So you can understand our concern. Now, please, don't make a mistake. We chose this hill deliberately. This hill has a great command of the battlefield. You can see for a goodly distance off, but unfortunately, you can't see the bottom of the hill. Eventually, some of the redcoats do manage to make it across the river, about 200 yards south of our position. They circle down below our hill and up behind it. During this time, up north near the meeting house, our left flank has crumbled, and our boys are in retreat coming southward. Up on Mr. Chad's hill here, right behind his house, about 30 yards back, there's a little bit of an orchard. Imagine our surprise when out of the orchard out come the redcoats. Bayonets fixed. Imagine somebody coming at you with something like this. You know what they're going to do with that, don't you? It's not going to be good. 30 yards. 30 yards isn't that far. We don't have enough time to take and turn our cannons around to defend ourselves. So the order is given. Abandon your horses. Abandon your wagons. Retreat down towards Chester. Regroup. Get ready for a counterattack. What? Abandon my horses and wagon? Abandon my cannons? Ha! How can I do this? After all, I am a teamster. Not only am I a teamster, I am a bombardier. Why are you looking at me like that? Don't you know what a teamster or bombardier is? Oh, well, okay then. As a teamster, I drive a wagon and a team of horses. In my wagon right now is gunpowder and ammunition for the cannons. In fact, I'm pulling behind my wagon one of the cannons. I get it up into its position, I dig it in, I prepare it, I get it ready for the battle. And then after I load the ammunition box behind the cannons, I fall into one of the 3 rear positions of the cannon, and I help to fire the cannon. Abandon my wagon, my horses. My wagon. No. How can I do this? After all, it's my wagon. It's my horses. No. You know what? I will save my team, and I will save myself. So instead of going that direction towards Chester, I went that direction towards the back of the hill. Have you ever had a day that felt like the very hand of God was with you? Today is one of those days for me, because some way, I made it past the redcoats. I made it to the back of the hill. I grabbed what falling guns I could. I heaved them up into the wagon. I grabbed my horse and wagon, and I led them off to safety. We lost half of our supplies in the Battle of Brandywine. But not my wagon, not my horses. You would be proud to know that our boys fought valiantly. In fact, some made some courageous stands right back towards this direction. They were able to delay the British long enough that we were able to retreat back towards Chester, just before they were able to take and close their maneuver around us. The British went on ahead to march down towards Philadelphia and take it. But we bought them time. They were able to gather up the necessary things and move out of the city. I want you to know that I think the British thought that we would run at the very sight of them, but we did not. We stood. We fought. In fact, we fought from sun up to sunset. I think it's a telling thing that the British chose not to take and pursue us at the end of the battle. Well, nevertheless, we wish we could have done better, but we stood our own the best we could. Yes, this house is full of memories. Memories of comrades and fellows that I was close to. Memories of men who were willing to put their lives on the line and die so that we would have a chance to have an independent country. I wonder if they ever will remember us. Wow. Look like the sun's starting to go down. It's probably about time I got back home. I'll never forget them. I will never forget them. I guess I must take my leave from you. I bid you fare thee well. Take care.